We're going to talk about constructing congruent segments first. The first thing you have to do is draw a ray longer than the segment that's being copied. So if you look at that segment that's there on your sheet of paper, what you want to do is you want to draw a ray somewhere beside it that's without any doubt longer than the one that's there. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to take and you're going to set your compass so that one end is on the end of the segment, and you're going to adjust it so that the other end is right there on the end of that segment. And you can see if I marked it that I'm clearly there on the other end of that segment. Everybody see that? Now, if you're using the one that kind of slides, you've got to set that clear spot right in the center. You've got to set it on one of those endpoints. And you've got to slide that little bar until one of those holes lines up with the other endpoint, and then kind of lightly tighten that red piece that's in the center so that it doesn't slide around. Everybody okay up to that point? Without changing the adjustment then, you are going to pick the compass up and you are going to slide it over so that the end is on the end of the ray. Where it was here, you're just going to slide it over so that the end point is on one of the ray, and you're going to swing it and make an arc so that you can see where the other end point would have to be. And I'm going to label my new points C and D. So if I've done this correctly, I know that segment AB is exactly the same as segment CD. And just so that you can see, if I could magically pick this up, let's see if it'll slide it. Where is it? If I could magically pick it up and slide it over, what do you see? That the two line up exactly on the ends. Again, when it comes time to take the EOC, you're not going to actually have to do the construction. They're going to say which set of these pictures is in the order of how you would construct two congruent segments. So the first thing you're going to see is they're going to draw a ray that's longer. Then you're going to see a mark maybe on the end of the original. And then you'd see a mark on the new one so that you could label them as being the same. Yes, question?
Does it matter where you place the new or the...
No. Makes no difference. Now we're going to talk about constructing congruent angles. I want to draw another angle that's congruent to angle ABC. Okay? Constructing congruent angles. I want to draw another angle that would be exactly the same as this. And the first thing it said to do, again, was draw a ray. So I'm going to draw a ray. This would be the first thing that we had to do, is draw a ray. Everybody okay with the ray? It says, with the compass point on the vertex of the angle. So you're going to take your compass, you're going to slide it over so that the point of that compass is on the vertex of that angle. The vertex is that point where they two rays meet. So you see the points right there on that point B. Everybody see that? Now you want to adjust your compass. Don't worry about where A and C are on that printed piece. Just adjust it so that you can see that I can make an arc then all the way through that angle. So that it has an arc all the way through both sides. Without changing then that compass, you're going to slide it over so that the point is on the end point of your ray. Everybody see it? So the point, so it's over on the end point of that ray. And when you go to make your arc, make sure you're making it big enough so that whatever it would do, it would be large enough to cross that angle. And you're going to make another arc. Everybody with me so far? What you're going to then do once you've made that arc is you're going to take your compass, you're going to slide it back over to the original angle. And you're going to set so that you can figure out what the distance is or the exact amount between point A and point C is where that arc is. Does everybody see I have one of the points on A and I've slid it over so that I'm over on this other point where the arc is. Everybody okay with that? You've got your compass set? Then we're going to slide our compass back over to the other one. We're going to go to where the arc crossed the ray. Again, without changing the setting, we're going to take our compass and we're going to make an arc so that you can see where those two cross. Do I need to do that again? I see a confused look. Okay, so I'm just going to undo that.
Can you explain how to do it with this kind of compass?
So you got the arc, right? And you made this arc the same? I got it. Oh, there's one. Don't let it slide. There's one. Now I'm going to come right over here to this angle. I'm going to do the same thing. Okay? Now, let's go here. We have to set this so that it is the distance between where the arc crossed. And I'm going to come over here. And I'm going to make an arc so I can see where these two arcs cross. Okay? Okay. Just back up here so that you can see what I did. Everybody got the two arcs that are here, correct? We're this far.
Hey, how do you get the first arc?
Okay. The first arc, you draw the ray, and you said with a compass point on the vertex of an angle, draw an arc across the angle. So I came down here. Let me rotate this so that it's... I came down, put it on the vertex. I'm going to adjust this so you can see it was the same. and I made an arc that went across the angle. Okay? Then I came over here and I did the same thing. From the end point, I made that arc, so it crossed the angle. Everybody have those two arcs. Okay. Then I took the compass back over where I made my first arc, where I could see it cross both of the angles. And I found a way to rotate my compass and set it so that I could see that where the arc crossed, it was set one end point at one point where it crossed, the other point of the compass at the other point where that arc crossed that angle. If you've got one that slides, you've got to do the same thing. You've got to set the clear spot here. You've got to slide it till one of the holes lines up with the other point. Once it's set lengthwise, without changing the setting, you slide it over to the other line. You put one end point on the point where it crosses, the arc crosses the ray. Without changing the setting, you make that arc. And what you should see happen, you should see a clear point being defined where the two arcs cross. Once you see that clear point where the two arcs cross, you're going to connect a ray from the end point of the one segment through that point. Just a second, I'll be right there. Let me. Okay. Constructing a perpendicular bisector. Let's talk about what a perpendicular bisector is first off. If it's going to be perpendicular, it has to form a right angle. If it's going to bisect it, it has to cut it into two equal pieces. So my goal would be to create a segment that's going to go through AB in a way that it cuts it into two equal parts, but also makes a 90-degree angle. So you're going to take the compass and you're going to set it so the end point of that compass is on one of the end points of the segment. Your compass has to be set so that it's wider than at least half of the segment. Does everybody see that I'm more than halfway? Does everybody see that?
Oh, yeah.
That I'm more than half the segment. If it's not more than half the segment, this won't work. Make sure your compass is set more than half. Then make an arc so that it goes above the segment and below the segment. Almost looks like a half circle. Everybody see it? Don't change the compass. Pick it up. Slide it over to the other end point. And make the same arc. So you should have two kind of half circles kind of intersecting each other. Yep. Take your compass. Set it on one end point. Make sure that the compass is set for more than half of the length. It's got to be greater than half. Make an arc that goes above and below that segment. Slide it over to the other end point without changing the setting. and make another mark. And what you should see is you should have kind of two half circles that are intersecting each other. This identifies 2 points. The point of intersection here and the point of intersection here. Take your straight edge and connect those 2 points. I'm going to label that point now where it crossed this line as C. Segment AC should be the same as segment CB. These two should be equal. And this angle here should be 90 degrees. Constructing an angle bisector then. Remember, if it's an angle bisector, I'm looking for a ray that's going to cut this angle into 2 equal pieces. I want to place the compass point on the vertex of the angle. So I'm going to slide my compass over so that the point of my compass is sitting right on B. And I'm going to draw an arc that crosses this angle. It's got to go through both ray BA and ray BC. And it doesn't really matter where it crosses it. I'm going to purposely make it so that it doesn't go through A or C. And I'm going to make an arc. Now, without changing the compass, place the compass point on one of these intersections. There was 2 intersections created. There was an intersection on ray BA. There was an intersection on ray BC. I'm going to take my compass and slide it over and place it on that point of intersection on ray BA without changing that compass. And I'm going to make an arc out here on the interior of this angle. Remember, an angle continues on and on forever. I'm going to make an arc out here in the interior. Without changing a setting, I'm going to go to the other point, and I'm going to do the same thing. Oops. And if you've done that, you should see that your 2 arcs also have a point of intersection. Then you're going to take your straight edge. You're going to connect your vertex to that point of intersection of those 2 rays. So I should now know that angle ABD is going to be exactly the same as angle DBC. That whatever this one measures, this one's going to measure exactly the same thing.